Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I call this meeting of Lake Mary Toastmasters Club 6440 to order. Before we proceed with the meeting, please silence your cell phones. I'd like to ask anyone to stand up with me to say the Pledge of Allegiance followed by both their sides. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Our club mission is to provide a supportive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Please help me welcome our Toastmaster for today, Hadi N.
What a power is love. It is the most wonderful, the greatest of all living powers. Love gives life to the lifeless. Love lights a flame in the heart that is cold. Love brings hope to the hopeless and gladdens the hearts of the sorrowful. In the world of existence, there is indeed no greater power than the power of love. When the heart of man is aglow with the flame of love, he is ready to sacrifice all, even his wife. That quote comes from Abdul Baha'i, who was the head of the Baha'i faith in the early 20th century and the son of its founder. Throughout this meeting, as time permits, we'll be learning about different definitions and perspectives of love. Now let's look at the agenda changes.
Yeah.
Nobody's here. Yeah, so we're going to need an odd counter and
We need the other evaluator.
an evaluator. Yeah, odd counter just
Our
showed up.
counter is here. So
Oh, fine.
I'll go
Okay,
welcome.
so if everyone is assigned a role so far, so if no one will, is anyone up for evaluator?
It's easiest for
Steve,
you.
would you be able to?
I can do that. Okay.
Gus? Okay, Gus,
All right.
you gonna be second evaluator?
Good.
All right, excellent. Okay, I'd like to introduce our functionaries for the day, starting with the grammarian, Mike Hughes.
Mary, do the word of the day and keep you accountable for that word. My word for the day is mercurial, which is an adjective meaning changeable, volatile, fickle, flighty, erratic, which I found rather suiting to the topic of love. So, I will be watching and listening who's those who do not use the word of the day. 45 cents afterwards. Our report at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, our timer, Jessica.
Toastmaster, so today it is my job to keep the meeting on time. For speakers, so the green card, everyone knows when you've met the minimum time requirements. You get the yellow card when you've got 1 minute left, and the red card when you have gone to the maximum time and it's time to wrap it up. For the evaluators, you've got 2 minutes, you get the green card, 2.5 minutes, yellow card, 3 minutes, you get the red card. For table topics, are we doing table topics today? Since
We are. Rich is showing up at time late.
Okay, good. Well, as long as he's here. So we'll know you get green card at 30 seconds, yellow card at 45 seconds, and the red card at 60 seconds. And I will give my report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, odd counter, Julianna.
Good morning, I'll be your odd counter today. So my function will be to look for the use of filler words such as you know, so, okay, and I will be keeping tally throughout the day and give my report at the end, and I will be collecting handouts. Thank you.
That was a long pause there.
Well, I didn't want to read word for word from this. I think I covered everything.
So our first speaker for today is Macarena, who's giving her Icebreaker. Beautifully and wonderfully made. Well,
Thank you, Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, and no guests.
Yeah.
That's okay. My name is Macarena Torres, and I know that some of you have thought or probably are thinking about this question in your head, but yes, just like the song and the dance. I was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and over in Argentina, my name is just about as common here as Stephany or Lindsay is in this country, so I'm everywhere over there. It's great. I've yet to meet anybody with my name over here. So if you meet anyone, let me know. My whole entire family moved to Long Island, New York when I was about 2.5, and we lived there for about 5 years and then moved to Florida where we decided to plant our roots. In 2005, I moved to Orlando to attend the University of Central Florida. Good night. I graduated in 2009 with a degree in graphic design. And I'm sure many of you know the economy and the state of the economy it was at that time. Many people were losing their jobs, getting laid off, and a lot of people were trying to find work or having difficulty finding work, which is what most of the college graduates were going through at that time. I was super nervous. I didn't know what I was going to do, whether I was going to find a job or move back with my parents. But thank you, God, I was able to find a job within weeks of graduating. And I got hired as a freelance graphic designer here at Scholastic Book Fairs. I started working, and I worked for about 2 years, and then a position opened up, and I went ahead and applied, and I got the job. And I was super ecstatic, and I've been working there as a full-time graphic designer for 3 years next month. But when I'm not sitting in front of a computer, I am involved in several hobbies, one of which is dancing. I've been dancing since I was about 4 years old. Ballet, jazz, tap, modern, you name it, and I've probably danced it. It's such a wonderful, wonderful hobby that I've had such a blessing to be able to get to know and love. Well, when I was about 25 years old, my body pretty much told me that I could not lift my leg up here anymore like I could when I was about 12, 13, or 14. Yeah, you think? So I suffered about 2 injuries and I pretty much quit. But God had different plans. I was introduced to ballroom dancing. And I've been doing that for about 2 years, and my very first competition is next year. I'm super excited, but super nervous, and I can't wait to see what happens. You all are invited. It's right here in Orlando. My other hobby is, ready for this, archery. I got involved with archery thanks to Groupon. I have a group of friends who love to be adventurous. We've gone horseback riding, we've gone wakeboarding. We just signed up for flying trapeze, all through Groupon. So we found this Groupon for archery and fell in love. One thing led to another, and we ended up buying our own bows and arrows. Crazy, huh? But pulling all that aside, what I really love to do and really fills my heart up with so much joy is serving God. I got involved with a ministry here in Orlando, here in Central Florida, about 45 years ago. And it's completely changed my life. It's called Lambda Ministry. They are a small ministry that serves the homeless, that serves the needy families in and around the Central Florida area. And it's the best blessing God has able to bring into my life. And I just pray that God continues to use me to help others that are in need. But to wrap up, I'm so blessed to have experienced so much in my life. I'm not perfect, and I know that I have many, many flaws. But I'm a woman who loves who I am and everything that God is shaping me to be. Like it says in the book of Psalms, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. His works are wonderful, and I know that fully well. Thank you.
My sister used to compete.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
1 minute's up.
Oh, man,
Right.
thank you. Next up, we have Jeff Campana, and I'm extremely curious what on earth this speech is going to be about, the Internet of Things.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. I don't think we have any honored guests, but if you're out there on YouTube, good morning. A few weeks ago when I volunteered to do my speech, I had no clue what I was going to talk about until this weekend when I came across this quote. The Internet of everything or things will be 5 to 10 times more impactful in the next decade than the entire Internet has been to date, which to me it seemed interesting, especially since most of the people that I know, including my kids, feel this way about the Internet, right? And there's a bunch of quotes on the Internet that reinforce how much people love the Internet, like this one, which is kind of funny, but there's a lot of them out there. I heard Internet addiction is now an official mental disorder, and you can go to rehab for it, but I'm only going if there's Wi-Fi. So my idea was to talk to everybody this morning about the Internet of Things, what it is, how it works, and if I had access to the Internet of Things, how would I use it immediately? So in order to do that, I worked with a graphic designer and came up with some complicated drawings of the way that the Internet works today. So when we think of who and what in terms of the Internet today, what do we think about? Beautiful drawing. But the who, when we think about the Internet and who, we think about we're the users, and the what in terms of how we access the Internet. Typically, it follows the rule of 3. Either a smartphone, a tablet, or a computer, right? Typically, there are other things. And in terms of how it works, in terms of when we're accessing it, and in terms of why, how it works also follows the rule of 3. Typically, you need a device. You need some type of chipset that gives you an address, and you need some type of service provider. So I work for AT&T, so you need a service provider. So it's just device, chipset, service provider, they connect you to the Internet, right? In terms of when, we're connected all the time. And in terms of why we connect to the Internet, really it's different for everybody. But typically we're also connecting for one of 3 reasons. Either we're requesting information, you go to Google, you do a search, you're looking for something, you're communicating with somebody, right, on Facebook or via email, or you're performing some type of task on the Internet. You are doing something at work on the Internet, or you're doing something for a personal need, you're filling out an application, you're doing something on the Internet. But it's typically, the model is that we're going out to the Internet and we're proactively asking it to do something. We're doing something. We're the ones who are initiating the communication, right? So Internet of Things, extend that concept out in terms of putting a chipset. You still need the service provider, but extend that concept out to now different things. So now you take that same model and you extend it out to your car, your home. I live on a farm. The horse, it could be the dog, the cat, the kids, your clothes, your wearables. And the difference is now, instead of you initiating all the communication everything is talking to the internet, talking to one another, and talking to you. So in terms of how big is this thing today and how big is it going to get? Today the estimates are there's about 25 billion devices that are connected to the internet. So that's about roughly 3 per person. What they're saying is that in 5 years it'll grow to 50 billion. So about 6 devices per person will be connected to the internet. So I started to think, if the internet gods were to come down from the cloud and say, Jeff, you can connect any 10 things you want to the internet, what would those 10 things be? Here's my 10, and I actually gave a lot of thought to this because I had more than 10. And these 10 that I'm going to come up with are in addition to the 3 I already have, the smartphone, tablet, and my computer. So here's the first thing I would connect, my kids. Because I would want to know when they get to school, I would want to know when they get off the school bus and when they're home. Because I'm at work. So I wouldn't put a chip in them, but maybe in their wearables, right? Maybe in their shoes. The house and the car, for sure. I would want the house talking to the car to let me know if I'm traveling by Target that we're low on milk, because all the appliances in the house I want connected. I want the car to know my work schedule, so before I jump into the car, it's already downloaded the turn-by-turn directions so that I can get to where I have to go. I want to know if I break down that the car is proactively reaching out to AAA with my location information, all connected to the internet. The horse. So I live on a farm, my wife breeds horses. So every night, this was taken last night around midnight, I go out there to check to see if the stupid thing is having the baby. We used to have video cameras, but the horses have broken the video cameras and it becomes expensive. So if I could put some type of biosensor on the horse to notify my cell phone that the horse is about to go into labor, I would do that, for sure. Okay, these are the ducks. I would internet enable the ducks so that I know where they are so they don't get eaten by the dogs. Which I would internet enable as well, because German Shepherds are beautiful dogs, but if they leave the property, it's a liability. So I would also want to know if the dogs are within a certain proximity of the ducks, so that I can continue to have 2 ducks instead of 1. All right, so this drives me nuts. The laundry. I would put an RFID tag or some type of chipset in the laundry so that I could pull up a dashboard at night and I could tell my kids how many articles of clothing each of them have left on the floor. Every day the clothes is folded and I'll tell my son, hey Gavin, go grab your shirt. He'll go and pull the shirt and everything falls on the floor and you're having to refold constantly. My keys, because I always lose them. This jackass, because he's always eating the grass on my soccer field. And that the very last thing I would internet enable, which I think would be fun, are the soccer balls that my kids are training with, so that I know how many shots they've taken, and I know that as time goes on, if they're beginning to shoot harder and harder. So I'm going to leave everybody with this one thought. These are the 10 things that I would connect. What 10 things would you connect if you had the ability to connect them right now to the Internet of Things? Toastmaster, thank you.
One minute on the clock, please. Oh, okay. Go ahead. So throughout the ages, philosophers, spiritual leaders, and academics, and I'm sure others, have tried to define love and make sense of what it is. In Greek, for example, in ancient Greek, there were 5 words to describe love. You had agape, which was the ideal type of love, a spiritual form of love, a pure love. You had eros, which was the passionate love, the sensual desire and the longing love of the body. You had philia, a dispassionate, virtuous love. If you think of the word philosophy, for example, love of wisdom, or philips, love of horses. Storge, which included loyalty to friends and family. And xenia, which was hospitality. So the kind of love where you take care of a guest and expect nothing in return except for gratitude. What's that? What? And the Romans used the word amor, or amore, I'm not sure how to say it, in an affectionate sense as well as a romantic sense. And at least one British historical source says that Rome, or Roma, is actually an anagram for amor. And that during the, at times of war, they would use amor as a secret way to describe Rome. Okay, there we go. Okay. Growing up in New York, so our next speaker, Stephany. Growing up in New York offered unique experiences quite different from those who were reared in the smaller cities of the suburbs. Our last speaker says she took full advantage of all the cultural advantages at every opportunity. Please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Stephany Byrne, introducing the Supers of Harlem.
Don't go off the block. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. When our parents told us we could go outside and play, but don't leave the block, they had no idea how much territory we included in that one city. Imagine this: square in Harlem, 2 major avenues, side streets, apartment buildings on all of them, with a myriad of connecting alleys and courtyards. This was our amusement park. Depending on your address or the prestigiousness of your building, you had superintendents, janitors, porters, super helpers, and it was their jobs to care for, maintain, shovel coal. Yes, before we converted to oil, we had coal. This was another special treat. Collect the garbage and maintain order in the buildings. When we were allowed off the block, we went roaming in the neighborhood for fresh meat. Not only did we harass the tenants, we harassed the superintendents as well. This was our joy and our delight. Some of those supers, they didn't tolerate our shenanigans. Some were even armed with shotguns, which they readily displayed, and one even once fired. We would beat a hasty retreat, but being young, dumb, and fleet of feet, we went back. We didn't care. This was our playground, and they weren't going to tell us bratty kids where we could play. Well, trespassed and warned off, we would go back to our own buildings. Now, I lived in a plain, unassuming 4-story walk-up. Then it had an adjoining twin building right next to it. So we had a super who did the fixing and the helpers that collected the garbage and cleaned. For today's purposes, I will refer to them all fondly as supers. There were 3 characters: colorful characters that I remember best. First one, I'll call Ed. Ed wasn't that much fun to tease, but Ed had a tagline. This was his signature. Around about 8 o'clock, trash is supposed to be out beside the door. He would come along, dragging a vile burlap bag from the top floor to the bottom, collecting the garbage. Your trash wasn't out there, you heard this. Pull garbage! That was our cue to run out there with it. Well, when it was us kids, and they all hated us kids. He would close his bag up, and you may not be able to get to deposit your trash. We would run to the next floor and try to throw it in, and he would mumble curses, I guess, under his breath. But usually we got it into the bag. He wasn't that much fun. The second one, I'll call him Ed. What a colorful, mercurial character he was. By today's standards, he'd be called a pervert or even a pedophile. He was always beckoning us with a lewd gesture, trying to steal kisses, running after his kittens. But these supers all had one thing in common. They did their jobs, they hated us, and they all drank. There was no way he could catch us. We teased him, nonetheless. He was loads of fun. He would do his work, and then he would give us a dance recital in the street. Come on, baby, let's do the twist. Or an even more seductive, baby, you got what it takes. Eyeballing us all along. Yeah. Every now and then he would catch a rat on his trap, a big rat. And he would have a funeral, parading up and down the avenue and singing in a gravelly voice, "Nearer, my God, to thee." Or, "In the sweet by and by." Believe me, it was more hilarious than it was disgusting. But the one that I loved best was the Horseshaw Man. Now, we never found out what his real name was, but we called him by and he answered to, and we referred to him as the Horseshaw Man. It was said that he was injured in World War II, shell-shocked. Because all he did when he wasn't working was walk up and down the street in sort of a military fashion, hollering, "Ho! Horseshaw! Ho! Ho, I say!" Reach into his pocket, pull out his pipe, take a swig, lean to one side, continue, "Horseshaw!" He would make denigrating remarks about black and white people, to the effect that neither were worth very much. Horseshaw! Our parents begged us to leave him alone, but we couldn't help it. "Horseshaw Man, tell us about black and white people." The ends and the crackers ain't Horseshaw, I say. "Horseshaw Man, what are you?" And with as much dignity as a war battle drunken super could muster, "I'm a Negro." We love teasing the Horseshaw Man. Our parents, if they would tell the truth, they enjoyed it as much as we did. These fellas did their work, put up with our nonsense, and entertained us royally. Long live the supers of Harlem. One minute on the clock, please.
Next up, I'd like to introduce our table topics master, Rich Massa.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow members, good morning. How's everybody doing today?
Good, sir.
I love the topic. What is love? Love, by definition, is an intense feeling of deep affection. To me, it is not just a feeling, but the actions you take toward the people that you care for. So you have to kind of know their love language. The day of love was last... You like that, Gus? I know you do. The day of love was last Saturday, Valentine's Day, you know, my favorite holiday, where couples show love to your better half in the way they receive it. Mike, what was your most memorable Valentine's Day?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, Evaluators and all other things bullshit. But anyway, nothing. So, my most memorable Valentine's Day. I don't remember, because the chances of me having a few sips of a cocktail and or a wine to address the lady sitting across from me caused my memory to slip, and so the events of the evening became hazy at best. But I do remember waking up the next morning and enjoying everything I did the night prior, but I don't remember what it was, so that's my memory. Thank you so much.
The best memories are the ones you can't remember.
Yes.
Speaking of memory, everyone remembers their first love. And many say there isn't one quite like it with the ones that follow. Julianna, who was your first love? Describe them and tell us the story of your magical first kiss. You have 90 seconds.
I'm actually still with my first love.
Wow.
Many of you had the pleasure of meeting him. He was a guest at one of our meetings. And yesterday was our 7-year anniversary, so
Wow.
we are still together, and as in Stephanie's own words, maybe he would be considered a pedophile back in the day because I was 15 years old when he swept me off my feet, and he was 18, going on 19.
Ooh.
But my mother was okay with it because she liked his family, and that was all that mattered. And they were Catholic, and we're Catholic, so it was good. Our first kiss. Our first kiss was underwater. He had asked me if I'd ever kissed someone underwater, and at that time I had only kissed one person before, and it was on the cheek. So, of course, my answer was no. And then he asked me if I would like to try it, so that was that was our first kiss. It was cute.
Very nice. This one's my favorite question coming up. There's a big difference, ladies and gentlemen, between showing love, feeling love, and my personal favorite, making love. Yes, you knew it was coming if I was going to be topics master. Stephany, I know you spoke today, but you're the only person I know can give me the most interesting question, the answer to this question. What is the one song that makes you want to, as Usher says, and justify your love like Madonna? And why?
Want me to sing it?
If you sing it, that'd be amazing.
Close the door. Okay, that's enough. Who's Madonna?
Madonna?
What does
She's an artist.
what does she do? What was the song? What?
She wrote many songs about making love,
Oh, okay.
and one of it was "Justify My Love." What song gets you make you want to justify your love?
Money, 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 money.
And this is why I chose Stephany for that question, Mr. Toastmaster.
I can honestly say that those questions may be mercurial. So in Turkey, love can only be used with one special person, the word love. And you can use it with a family member, with God, with your soulmate, whichever. But when you say that you love somebody, it's basically the one most special person or being in your life. Okay, so this one, I'd like to introduce our general evaluator, Gus D.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, this is the educational portion of the meeting, wherein the speeches that have been given are going to be evaluated. We also hear the reports from our technical table. We have some comments to make about the meeting today. Then we'll move on. So evaluating our first speaker today, who gave her icebreaker speech, is Laurie Richards. Please help me welcome Laurie Richards.
Thank you, Master Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and Macarena. Macarena, giving your first speech, I know that sometimes it can be really nerve-wracking, but you came up here and you're very confident, and you had a really nice, clear speaking voice. I like that you were really relatable. You told us how your name is just like the dance. Everybody can relate to that. You went to UCF. Yay, go Knights. My daughter goes there too, and so does Julianna. So that kind of tied me in. The purpose of your speech was to obviously introduce us to yourself and to see what skills you already have. And one of the things that I was supposed to look for is if you had adequate preparation and clear organization, and you had both. You used minimal notes. Your organization, we were able to learn about your profession, about your hobbies. They're pretty interesting too. I don't know any archers, and also about your faith. So we were able to get to know you, and that was really wonderful. One suggestion is I noticed that, like I am right now, I'm a little bit nervous because this is my first evaluation, but I noticed that you kind of were tapping on the lectern, which was I found it to be just a little bit distracting. So for maybe the next one, not tap so much, or maybe tap in a really cool beat, then we can tie it in or something.
My name is Macarena.
That's right. Yeah. I really, the thing that I liked the best about your speech was that your title was Fearfully and Wonderfully Made, and at the end you tied it all together with that Bible verse that says how you're fearfully and wonderfully made, which, speaking of the Bible, talks about God, and God's love is not mercurial. Extra point. So Macarena, it was a pleasure to get to know you, to get to know the fearfully and wonderfully made you, and I'm excited that we are going to be on this Toastmaster journey together. Master Evaluator.
Thank you. A great job for the Toastmasters always to be able to make adjustments in the schedule. Now, to evaluate the second speech that was given by Jeff Campana, I want you to welcome Gus Davis, who will be speaking and evaluating. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guest, and Jeff. This was an amazing topic that you chose. Jeff told me, even before I knew I was going to evaluate, he told me he was going to give a speech that would be something like religion or faith, because it's very complex, intricate, but you can explain it. And his topic, the get to the point and organize a speech to achieve the general and specific purpose of the speech. You did that very well. In your opening, you started out here with a quote. You had a quote, and then you talked about, there was a question. Then you had a show, you're going to show and tell. You had your chat here. One of the great things about your speech is that when I saw your chat and the first sheet over it was blank, I was wondering, where are the markers? Is it going to be talking and writing? So there was a suspense you created, but everything was underneath. That was well done. You had prepared it. You just flipped right over it as it was time to show what you were talking about. You were very general, but also you had a very specific point in this project that you really brought to our mind. Every one of us have a gadget. You know, if you look around, there are cell phones, there are tablets, and maybe somebody have something else, your computer. So that was very relevant to us, and we can get to the point. The description was well made. You really talked about how people are connected. You gave us the reason why we should be able to move in there. So from general to specific was well done. One suggestion that we have is in the opening, I think you were excited as always, was a very rushed. You had the tablet here, and it took a while for me to see what was on the tablet. You can always start very clear to make sure you engage the entire room so everyone can see, you can move it around. You did a great job with the rule of 3. You know, in Toastmaster we always want to talk about the rule of 3. You started not only with the 3 tablets, but you will say the what, the who, the when, and you will describe that. That was well put together. Even in your chat here, you were talking about the rule of 3. Another great thing you did in the speech, not only using the rule of 3, was when you gave your 10 top things that you would want on the internet to connect so that you can know all the time. That was well done, and it was very descriptive. It was personal, it was general, but again, it was specific. You were getting to the point. Your closing was strong. In your closing, you gave a question, what are our own 10 things that we would like to put together? And then you close with a question, and that's what I appreciate. Looking forward to more speech that you will give. Thank you very much, Jay. Continuing the evaluation. Now, as the general evaluator, let's welcome Stephen Morgan, evaluating Stephany.
Don't go off the block, Stephany. Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and of course, our favorite brat. I imagine you've heard a few other choice words in your youth there, but we are hearing from the other side today. This was the Make Them Laugh project out of the Humorously Speaking manual, or sorry, Entertaining Speaker manual, which means you get to play with all the humor, and we've heard some very funny speeches from you in the past. We got to have a few laughs from you today. It was fascinating in the way that you decided to take their approach from what I saw, going more for the understated a lot of the way. Fairly calm, fairly restrained, unlike apparently you in your youth. As a result, of course, your body language stayed for the most part fairly within. Your elbows barely moved out. Your hands were mostly going like this for most of it. Perhaps it would be interesting to see what you were like at a different time. Use of the rule of 3 was actually very strong and very effective with this one, particularly with your 3 supers. I like one was Ed, and one was Shawman. Yes. So you had 3 different characters. You were also using your triads in other places, like the young, dumb, and fleet of feet. That would have been a fun demonstration here.
No longer young.
No longer young or fleet of feet. Okay. The suggestions that I could toss in here, some of them coming out of the project itself, and you went for understated, which is fine. It's the opposite of mercurial in this case. But if you wanted to, take this to the point of the other side of exaggeration. You could have had quite a bit of fun on the exaggeration side. Perhaps the super, when you're going down to take the trash, decided to throw your kids in the bag as well to get rid of you that way. That would have been a very interesting way to play with it. Or perhaps you next saw the other ad on one of those crime shows on TV later.
The pedophile.
Yes. You never know what may have come from that. What would I find be most fascinating, though, would be for you to go and ask your mom, since I know she's still around, how she recalls that time.
She claims no knowledge.
Yeah. Since you could bring her as the character, well, let's see it from a different perspective. And mind you, you can exaggerate. You don't have to say she doesn't remember. But the best and most interesting in this, where you got the most laughs, is when you started doing the actual impressions. Now at this point you became more animated. The body and language significantly stepped up, as well as the vocal variety. Now we've seen you enjoy the fun of singing and the rest, and the impressions were getting the most laughs here. Going over the top will always be fun when you're doing the humor, so by all means, go for it. And you were having fun with it, and we were enjoying that part the best. So although you probably can't say the supers may be around now, you're saying long live the supers nonetheless. Keep telling the stories, because
It's still super surrounded.
yeah, we'll still be calling them Ed. You know that.
That's the evaluation of the speeches. I have a comment on that before we get our technical table. Did you realize that before I came up here, I've been trying to practice the word of the day, but it actually happened to me. I had a mercurial moment. Can anyone tell what that could have been while I'm standing here? Yes, well, I came in this morning. I realized when I left my house this morning, I mistakenly sat on my glasses and I was just hanging it there. And for the last moment, it came out my face. So that was a miracle moment. Changeable, changed my appearance. Yeah. Let's go straight to the technical table for the reports before I will have some general comments. We are going to start with the grammarian.
We did make some money today. People who used the word of the day: Hadi, myself, Stephany, Lori, Gus, Steven. That was it. The rest of you, a lot of money. Now, a couple things I found interesting. Rich, you had no points awarded for creativity or anything like that, so Jeff, the internet gods came down from the cloud. Those videos I'm getting at. The other one, I want the house to talk to the car. Brilliant. A myriad of connected apartments. I like that. Just flowed well. Then roaming the neighborhood. It just kind of a thought, roaming the neighborhood. Then shenanigans, another good word. Lori, I'm glad we are on this Toastmaster journey together. I thought that was
yeah.
And then Steven, our favorite brat. That is my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's find out what hiccups along the way. We'll have our counter, Julianna.
All right, if I don't mention your name, you're free and clear and you have no debt today. Macarena, great speech. You did have 2 A's, but you're free today because you get your icebreaker, am I correct?
Correct. Right. Excellent.
Jeff, excellent speech as well. You did have 2 double clutches, and wee. Not together. You also had 1 so those are 3 violations for you. And Lori, you had 1 2 and 2 double clutches. It was that it. So 4 for you.
Okay.
And that's my report for today.
Thank you. Good. We'll move right into Jessica for time report.
Master Evaluator. I just want to say this is my favorite functionary job of any job. Really? It's the easiest.
Agreed.
Time is not mercurial, it is setting. We did pretty well. Well, start with the scheduled speakers. Macarena, you were well within the time at 4 minutes and 31 seconds. Jeff, you went a little over, 7 minutes, 43 seconds. And Stephany, about perfect, 6 minutes and 35 seconds. I'll move on to table topics. Mike, you just met it at 45 seconds. Julianna, 58 seconds. About perfect. And Stephany, you wasted a lot of time.
I had 2
by
times.
just asking, but I timed it in at 39 seconds.
Yeah.
And our evaluators, Lori at 2 minutes and 17 seconds. Gus, 3 minutes and 9 seconds. And Stephen, you came in 3 minutes and 24 seconds. And that is my report.
In the educational portion of the Toastmasters, what is really important is that people come prepare their speeches. That's why we have the manual. I think you guys did a great job to be able to come in prepared and follow the guidelines with the speeches. Also, what is important with that is the evaluation. I hope we all do those, single evaluations and pass them out. They're very helpful. I've always gone back and looked at my evaluations, read them over, and have some comments to make about it. That's well done. Try to bring in your competent leadership book so that you can always get credit. I was talking to Laurie, she has it, and pass it on. If you're an accountant at a time like grammarian, you're going to get points and it will help your leadership. I am still working on my competent communicator. I've finished, 20-some speeches, but I hope I'll be able to finish it after next week, which is what I want to talk about. Let me talk about the room was well done. Thank you for filling it for me. Yes, thank you. That you did a great job for the setup. Alexander has gone, and we have a transition here with Laurie doing the setup of the room. Next week, we want to talk about what's going to happen. Let me first have Stephen come up, then I'll talk about our time and what I need for next week. Stephen Morgan.
What Gus is alluding to is the most important piece of information we need to jump into. Another one, though, we need to make sure everyone's realizing this is when Duke's collection needs to be starting, and although our treasurer's not here today, we're going to definitely want that going in. Remember, it's for the next 6 months, $98, and if we can get everything in by the end of next month, we'll have covered everything that the club needs for its goals as required from Toastmasters International for the year, ending June 30th. So bring those checks to Lake Mary Toastmasters, or the cash if you need them, and we'll be ready for that. Gus is our contest master for next week's contest, and he has lots of information for us, I believe, at this point.
Yes. Next week we'll start at 7 a.m. So try to arrive here. Some of us will be here. They open at 6:30. Laurie will be the first to come in and set up. I have got some people who are doing, we have a contest master. We have the table topics. Hadi, Stephen, and Jorge is not here. Anybody else? We have the international speeches. Stephen, Hadi, Reach, and Mike. Mike has 6 speeches down.
Yeah.
Right. Then I have the sergeant at arms. We have 2. We have 2 timers. We have a chief judge. No one we know who the judges are. What was your role again?
I signed up as a timer, but I just realized yesterday that I will not be in town.
All right.
So I apologize. I thought I would tell you today.
From the from the speech we had today, how can the internet help you do that? Thank you. You know, forgiven. Thank you.
I apologize.
Okay. We have earns and we have the judges. We are going to have 1 or 2 people from the other clubs, but we have a ballot counter. Jessica, you signed up for ballot counter. We have folders ready as soon as you walk in outside there. Everything will be set up so people will have their information. If you are speaking, please arrive early. There's some paperwork that you need to do. You have to sign up on some paperwork and take your seat. We'll have refreshments. From the experts, Stephen, and mind leaving anything out to inform the group?
No, but can I interject something?
Yes.
Articulators, did you get the email I sent out? Articulators need help. If anybody can assist articulators, is the following Thursday morning. They start early also, 7:30. And just want to say that. And if you need to pull from there, you might be able to reciprocate.
Okay, articulators. They are in
They're
First
in
watch.
Altamont.
First watch, yes.
Yes, they're at their, I think the contest is at their old
Oh, they
location.
moved?
First watch is not first watch.
Oh, okay, but the restaurant
But
right
they-
next to the Indian.
But they said where the old, they're going to be at the Breakfast Club, where the old
Correct,
First
correct.
Watch was located in the same plaza as the Wing House.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, it's a good choice.
And it's always good to visit those other clubs,
That's
you know.
right,
I
make
actually
friends.
did one of my speeches there. It takes a while. Okay.
Okay.
So I think we're set. I'll be looking forward to seeing you. Let me handle
Do we
the
need
first.
more than one ballot counter or?
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
yes. You're one. I'm hoping to get someone from another club.
Oh, okay.
I am trying to get at least minimum 3. So
No,
you-
you only need two.
Okay,
You
2.
only need two.
So Greg will be joining us. Okay. Good.
You need two.
Good. Are you excited about that?
Yes.
All right, and that's one of the projects in your competent leadership book. I really love it that I'm doing it now. We have some special things that Stephen needs to take care of, then the meeting will be over.
Okay. I don't have a schedule to go through because next week is the contest. If you're interested or considering competing, any member who's paid their dues can do table topics, and anyone who has completed at least 6 speeches from the Competent Communication Manual can do international speech. You can decide at the last minute. If you would think you might be competing, don't judge in another contest. You'll be disqualified.
That's right.
And now, the last couple of things, the best part and the funnest part about doing these. The most important speech that you'll give in Toastmasters is the first one. Macarena, will you please come forward? And we'd like to make sure you get to remember it as one of your Icebreaker residents. The second most important speech you'll give in Toastmasters is the 10th one, the one that completes the Competent Communication Manual. In my experience in the 16 years in Toastmasters, less than a quarter of the people who will ever sign up will ever finish that manual. And it's the one I consider to be the most important. It's the one that focuses on the very basics of speaking, breaks them down so you can work on those individual ones and get that feedback. Jessica. Last week, Jessica completed her Competent Communication Manual, and you get to get your pen. Congratulations. It's okay.
We're almost there.
Announcement is
One final thing. After the contest, March 3rd, who are my mentors in here? We have mentor training after the meeting. Don't forget, March 3rd. I'll send an email.
Then we'll see you here bright and early, 7 o'clock next week. 6:30 if you have anything to do. See you there.